Good evening, grave robbers. Welcome back to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Laura Prince and Noah Houlihan. We've come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This is a podcast in which we've analyzed the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that run only one season, only one episode, or let's be honest, some weird stuff in between. With me as always is TV's Noah Houlihan.
It's post-mortem time.
So we are about to head into our planned hiatus. So we wanted to do the post-mortem.
Yes.
That we usually do customarily in at the end of a quote season.
Yes, this is the season 5 post-mortem.
Season 5.
Yeah. So let's start by pouring one out. So today I have the final goodbye. Because, dear listeners, this is in fact the final episode of Stay Doomed. To have a pour one out segment. We're not going to do these anymore. We decided that it's not sustainable, and it became a thing that we didn't enjoy doing anymore.
Yes, I was often editorializing and kind of making stuff up sometimes because I don't. If we had to record late or if we had to record on a weeknight,
yeah, you didn't want to do it anymore.
It
was fine when we were in quarantine, and it was like a fun, we're getting a little treat while we do our podcast, and this is fun. And once quarantine ended and we were actually doing stuff and we were pressed for time, it became quite the hassle. And it's funny, if you go back and listen, I don't remember exactly which episode it is. I think it's the post-mortem for season 3.
Yeah.
I actually say, some people think that the cocktails are fake and we're making them up. But I guarantee you, we're actually drinking them every episode.
And we were.
After that episode, we started lying a little bit. After I made a point to say we're not, then we started to lie. And then we got to the point where we were just kind of like, there were always bits. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's a water, but we're saying this because they lied in the show.
Because often we also don't tend to drink at home, and so we very seldom have much in the house.
Yes,
we have a freezer with like a thin layer of airport bottles we've acquired over time for this.
Yes, so the final goodbye is just a mixture of all of the most commonly used ingredients. So it is a sparkling water, grenadine, blue curacao, liquor 43, and 99 bananas. I could have put some a beatbox in there as well. I think we have a beatbox and a vibe in there.
I am genuinely concerned how long those have been in our fridge.
Yeah, they've been there for a while because we haven't been doing this bit for a while.
Yeah, we didn't do it. I mean, that should have been a big clue when we didn't do it for Tune Out.
Yeah.
I'm drinking cranberry ginger ale because it's something that makes me very nostalgic.
But I also think,
I was talking about my drink.
I'm sorry. Again.
I'm drinking a cranberry ginger ale because it makes me very nostalgic, and post-mortem's a time where we get a little nostalgic about the last year. I went back to where we were right before the last hiatus. So now I'm just kind of looking at season 5.
Yes, I have it pulled up as well. One other little interesting thing I want to say before we start breaking down episodes that I find interesting about this as a whole is this season our recording schedule is very different.
Yes.
We used to do a lot of recording early on a Saturday.
Yeah, or during the summer it was usually midday on a weekday.
Yeah.
To stay inside when it was the hottest part of the day.
So we had a bit, because of when we were recording, in the middle of our recording, our coffee pot would go off.
Yes.
And a little song would play that, oh, here comes the interrupting coffee pot. Since then, we do not record at that time. And we've gotten a different coffee pot.
Yeah.
So we don't have that noise anymore.
No.
So rest in peace, interrupting coffee pot. You will be missed. Yay.
No. And that was really COVID era. Mm-hmm. Because we would be recording, and admittedly, we also would, like, sleep late.
Yeah.
And we'd also be recording days we made coffee at home. Mm-hmm. Now, I cannot remember the last weekend day we drank coffee at home.
Yeah.
Like, we stop at a convenience store on the way.
Yeah. Go to Starbucks.
Yeah, like, we stop at, like... We're Philly Metro, and I think everyone knows we're Philly Metro.
Yeah.
We stop at Wawa.
We get a lot of Wawa. And, so let's take a look at the show this year, or this season, because it was a very interesting season.
This was an odd season. There's a lot of strange stuff in this season.
We experiment a lot this season, and we decided to come back with an experiment, because we come back from hiatus with a lost episode. Because everyone was, we did the Stay Doomed questionnaire, which we'll do again.
Yes.
There is a link in this episode, just to get your ideas of where you'd like Season 6 to take us. And a lot of people really liked when we covered Lost Media. So we did the Lost episode of Sesame Street, where the Wicked Witch of the West shows up. This was a very interesting episode to do.
This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this episode. I really liked doing a Lost Media. And with a lot of Lost Media, we kind of felt like we were racing against time. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes with Lost Media, it's whack-a-mole. Like, this could be wiped. Mm-hmm. Because
we will be talking about that exact phenomenon a little bit later on.
Yeah, it could have been completely wiped out. So we wanted to get on it as soon as we could. Which is one of the first times we've been doing a piece of media at the same time other people have been doing the same piece.
Yeah.
And that's not usually our MO. We're not usually part of the zeitgeist. Mm-hmm. So it's very funny to me.
Yeah. It was a very successful episode as well. It was a lot of fun, and like, one of the things I remember we discussed about this is, are we just covering the Wicked Witch parts? Are we going to cover all the, like, songs and, like, things about different letters that happen in between? And then we absolutely had to, because of how we felt watching it, and, like, rediscovering What You Looking At, Tiger, and We All Live in a Capital I, and
the creepy numbers.
What was the Spanish opening and close Servado thing?
Yes.
Like, we had to talk about it because it had such an effect on us.
Yeah, it was so surreal. Mm-hmm. And, like, just a thing you hadn't been and watched. Because, like, I think it's fair to say we don't have kids.
No, we do not.
So, this revisiting a piece of children's media we don't usually go back to was interesting.
So then the next episode was another, like, long in the queue episode. Something that, like, we've been...
This one was fun.
Boy Meets Boy. You had fun with this one?
I did. Mm-hmm. Because this is, to me, a great Stay Doomed show. We had a lot of good conversation about it. A lot of good conversation about the clear producer meddling. Mm-hmm. The fact that it was a proto-reality show and that it was very early in the reality craze, so they didn't know how to do it yet. Mm-hmm. And discussing how they would do this today. There's also a lot of, like, solid bits in my notes.
Mm-hmm. What I remember of this is, one, I feel like this is one of the few shows that didn't really get a fair shake to impress us. Because the version we watched was on YouTube and had clearly been slowed down.
Yes.
And we didn't realize it until we watched, like, the last episode. And it's interesting, like, now, most of the time when I watch YouTube, I put it on 1.25 speed.
Really?
Yeah. because I just want to get through it as quickly as possible and get more media inside my eyes. So I'm often like watching things a little bit sped up. And had I done that for this, perhaps it would have been more tolerable.
Like, I'm looking through my notes here, and I had so much fun doing the notes on this. Like, there's a contestant who I had to dig through to find his name, because through my notes I call him knockoff John Darnielle, because he looks like We Have the Mountain Goats at Home. Yes,
I remember that. Also, like, I remember this was a rare episode where it was a planned two-parter, and we got halfway through it and looked at each other and went, this is a single episode.
Yes,
we're not going to have enough to say, because not enough happens.
Yeah, how we really thought this was going to have more substance.
They spent a half hour with this guy just trying to climb a boulder.
It was bad.
Oh, they're going to climb a boulder later. Get excited. Oh, something goes wrong. They climbed a boulder and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had another kind of like offbeat episode. But what I get, like, based on what I'm seeing here, is kind of one of our most infamous episodes. And that's, we did a TV special in The Grinch, the musical. And we were saying it was doomed in that they don't play it anymore because it was horrible.
It was bad.
And this was a torturous one because we had already watched this one.
Yeah, and it was bad the first time,
and it was bad the first time, and then we watched it again.
And it's... the vast majority of it is not fun bad. Like, there's parts of it that are fun bad, but the vast majority of it is just lame bad.
And this was the first time we experimented doing this, and it's something we need to go back to. This is the first Stay Doomed short.
Yes, this was fun.
Where we took a little cut of it and of the podcast and added some video, and it does amazingly, this little Grinch short. And this
he
was going to
pooped in the dog's face.
Yeah. The Grinch farts in Max's, because there's two of them, faces. And one of the Max's wipes something out of his eye. The Grinch shit on the dog! Merry Christmas, everyone! Merry Christmas, everyone! This was something that we should be doing more often, and then just kind of fell off. For some reason, like, the next couple episodes I felt really played into having shorts.
Yes.
There was also a plan that I was going to go back and listen to old episodes and pull shorts out of them. That might be something that happens during the hiatus.
Yeah, I actually... When we finish up, I actually want to talk about going back and listening to old episodes.
But yeah, that was the Grinch. Another interesting one, kind of a lost media type thing, was First Night 2013 with Jamie Kennedy. And basically, Jamie Kennedy was trying to become the next Dick Clark and kind of do a New Year's Rocking Eve for the West Coast. Which is a great idea. But this is a disaster.
It really is.
Shortly after we made this episode, Jamie Kennedy took it down.
Did he?
Yeah. So you can no longer watch it. At least not the way that we advertise in our episode that you can watch it. This is one of our most popular episodes of the season. This First Night 2013.
My notes in this are unhinged.
Yeah.
Because it's so much happening that I'm trying to keep up. Highlights include too challenging for you. Because I think that's the first time I start doing that. And that was a theme of this season, was me yelling that a lot.
The James A. Caster bit.
Me keeping account of how many people appear who have since been canceled.
Yeah.
It's a bunch. And how many 2007 humor jokes we are hearing on New Year's Eve 2012.
Yeah. Like, oh man, because this opens with just Jamie Kennedy bombing, doing stand-up.
You guys sure are quiet.
Yeah, and like, obviously bombing.
Macy Gray just not bothering to sing.
Yeah.
And then her incredibly capable background singer covering for her. It's such an odd thing. Oh, and the dirty puppets.
The dirty puppets were horrible. Bone Thugs and Harmony show up to sing First of the Month, which is fun. It's the first of the month.
It was so odd.
It was. What an experience. That's an episode to go back to and really, like, enjoy. I gotta go back a page.
Our next episode would be Conquer Fort Boyard.
Yes, this was a Patreon
request.
And very interesting, like very, what's it called? American Gladiators-esque show. We've done a couple of these shows, and what a weird, just like, failure of a TV show. It lacked any charm that, like, your Crystal Maze has, and your,
And it was such an odd... It was also, like, odd contestants. Mm-hmm. Like, we couldn't figure out if we were supposed to like anybody.
Yeah, like, it was before reality TV, so, like, there wasn't the established way to set up a hero and a character through confessionals and things like that. It's always weird when we do a game show. Like, because we only watch an episode because they're very repetitive.
Yes.
The
next episode, we had just gotten back from MagFest.
Yeah, we got back from MagFest, and we had planned on doing a on the road, and I think it just didn't turn out.
The audio just corrupted.
Yeah, so it's just like, well, this isn't happening. So there's just something that says "Stay Doomed Apology," and it's got 5 comments. Some of them are from me, but I see apology, and my first reaction is, Noah, what did you do? And then I said, I done messed up. And also because I appear in the thumbnail, the Danish Guy Review says, I forgot how Hank Greenish you look.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I respond, morning, John.
Good morning, John.
Yeah.
Hank Green, who inadvertently kind of became a character in my year. Mm-hmm. Hank Green, that's some foreshadowing for some difficulties we will come across later in the season.
So then we have this very interesting set of, of episodes.
We get a set of episodes in which I do not appear.
No, Lara goes on vacation, and I do Blood Drive, and I think Blood Drive's going to be 2 parts, and Blood Drive ends up being 4 parts, I believe?
Yes.
Like, we end up doing Blood Drive for a while, and...
3. 4.
Yeah, it's 4
but there's one between.
Because I believe what I end up doing is I do...
4 is released as, like, an interstitial between main episodes because we still were recording episodes.
Yeah, it was really odd. I really wanted to finish Blood Drive, but Blood Drive, like, does so poorly in the numbers.
Does it?
Yeah, like, because the first episode of Blood Drive goes up and gets blocked through copyright strike. And then when I re-upload it, like, there's just a loss of interest because it goes up the wrong day and there's, like, these problems. And, like, the parts of Blood Drive, let me just take a quick peek here. The most watched part only has 30 hits.
Wow.
Yeah, like, for something that I super enjoyed doing, it, like, nobody paid attention to these episodes. And it was also very special in that this was the first time we did a watch-along. Laura wasn't there, so I did a watch-along with the patrons. And
because I'm a coward.
We watched the first episode of Blood Drive, and I remember one of our patrons, Xavier, I was like, what did you think? And he just said, yeah! Blood Drive is still something super special to me that I absolutely love. It bums me out that... Because I actually get, like, emotional at the end of this.
You do.
Because it's something that's very special to me. And what I end up saying at the end is Blood Drive should be given your respect and something that people like really love. I really thank you for experiencing this show, even if it's just through my show. And then it turns out nobody did. So,
I know.
By the way, just for the record, I am only looking at YouTube currently. I'm not looking at.
I actually have Podbean up.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Because for me, it's easier to like.
Yeah.
But it's still like about 10 to 15 downloads fewer than an average episode.
Yeah, it's just for some reason did not really catch fire, despite the fact that there are shorts from Blood Drive that did decent numbers. Where did my Blood Drive short? Yeah, there's a Blood Drive short that did really, really well because I mixed it with Taylor Swift.
Yes. I remember because I watched that.
Yeah, because there's a part where Slink goes, "It's me, hi," and then I cut it to, "I'm the problem, it's me."
Because I know I was home when you were recording some of it. Mm-hmm. Because, like, you were so desperate to Cody Rhodes it and finish the story.
Yeah. I mean, it's special to me, and I truly love it. And I had a lot of, like, good information about it. And, like, if you go through, like, they're big, chunky episodes. Like, they're like hour-and-a-half episodes. And I did 4 of them alone. So it was very important to me that I get this out. And unfortunately, it just... I'm looking at it now, what's very strange is I had to re-upload Blood Drive Part 1. And for some reason, I cut some stuff out and it ended up being longer. So I wonder what happened there.
Huh.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, I love Blood Drive. Go back and experience those episodes because they're great. It's a very hard show to find. I actually bought it on YouTube to do this. And then for something completely different, Bamimation.
Bamimation was fun. It was a cute, silly, jackass cartoon.
I forget at this point what was going on with Bam. Because Bam's was in that like heat with Jackass Forever.
Yes.
Yeah, so
this is about a year after that, though.
Yeah, so
he's had a very rocky run.
Yeah, but this was a very interesting to look at, and if you've been following the show for a while, we're big Jackass fans. You wouldn't guess that about us, but man, do we love Jackass. So. We've done a lot of like Jackass projects and stuff for the show. We did the Shark Week. We did what was the Blastozoid?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Jackass 3D was the first film you and I ever saw together.
It was indeed. There's a peek into how strange we are. And then Razzie Month. What an interesting Razzie Month.
This was a particularly difficult Razzie Month to me.
So
we start off not that difficult.
Yeah, we start with Pinocchio, which ended up with 3 shorts.
Capital! Hi, diddly-dee.
I'm Keegan-Michael Key.
Well done. Out of that episode?
This was a fun one.
I'm going to be honest, like, I know we both hated this. This is a movie I think about a lot because I want to do a video essay on it.
Yeah?
Because I have the theory that Pinocchio is meant to actually be his dead son.
Yes.
There's, like, some imagery that implies that, and I would love to do a breakdown on it because it's absolutely insane that this movie exists. What a miserable film this was.
It's not great. Like,
It did not justify its existence at all.
I become grateful for it later.
Mm-hmm. Remember when Jiminy Cricket yells at himself? That's a real thing that happens.
Yeah, like, this, to me, is so a return to form, because I was looking over my old Stay Doomed notes recently of, like, season 1.
Yeah.
And there's so much more disjointed and more commentary than I started to get more into, like, making sure I could successfully recap.
Right.
This, because it's the story of Pinocchio, We get things like, you shouldn't poke your goldfish, you weird old man.
What a great sentence.
Blue fairy don't want no scrub.
Yeah.
Because she's like yelling at Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah. Oh man, what a truly terrible film. It's just a lot of CGI noise.
Except for the like 3 minutes where Cynthia Erivo gets to sing, and then the movie's good, and then she stops singing, and I have a note, why does Geppetto get more songs than Cynthia Erivo?
Yeah, for real. Then we had a guest. We don't usually have a guest.
Yes, this is very rare.
But my sister joins us, Sean Houlihan, to talk to us about Good Morning because she is a huge fan of Machine Gun Kelly and Mod Sun.
Bless her, I would have really liked to have been able to be more honest about this movie on the mic.
We kind of are a little bit softer on this film
Than we were
to anything else because a huge fan was there.
than we were even off mic discussing it beforehand.
Yeah, so it's a very odd episode. I don't like how that episode sounds from a tech perspective because we were in a different place.
Yes, and we didn't know how to like deal with the acoustics there.
Yeah, so here we're in Stay Doomed Studios. There is a little bit of an echo, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
And we deal with it in post and stuff. Then, this is so weird. We stopped doing Razzie Month for an episode to do Cash Tornado.
It's not weird. The patrons actually asked that we break up Razzie Month.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes.
Was this at a call from our patrons?
Yes, I actually recall this. And they requested that we break up Razzie Month because Razzie Month is not always that popular.
I mean, the numbers say otherwise.
It's not that popular with our patrons.
That's true. But we chose to do Cash Tornado, which when I found it, I thought it was something like kind of special, and it was like especially weird because it was like the concept tape.
Yeah, it was the game show equivalent of like a spec script.
Yeah.
Or like a proof of concept, which we've done once or twice before. The American Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Was more of like a spec video.
And basically, Cash Tornado was something that your state lottery could buy. And then you could sell lottery tickets to appear on Cash Tornado.
Yes.
And so what we end up watching is not a game show, not a real game show. Everyone there is fake. Like, they're actually playing. So it's a lot of, like, discussion on game theory, but it's all, like, super luck-based. So this is a very odd episode of Stay Doomed, in my opinion. Because I usually like doing game theory episodes where we talk about, like, why a game doesn't and does work. Mm-hmm. But this one is so odd because it's almost not meant to be entertaining. It's a commercial for the lottery.
Yeah.
So that one was quite odd. And then what time is it?
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time, everyone. We got to do Morbius, and man, this is so the spirit of the Razzies to me.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what this was.
This was... Ooh, the old Marvel logo. The one without anyone from the MCU. This was fun. Oh, it's Nolan Batman, but dumber.
Yeah.
Buttload of bats. Batload.
I also get called a fake nerd in the comments for this one because I talk about how in the comics he wants plasma, not blood, which is not true. They just say plasma in the Fox TV show because the Fox TV show wouldn't let a kid show say blood. So there's a fact. Morbius, what a time to be alive. This is the epitome of what a Razzie movie should be. And then we hit, like, the dark side of the Razzies.
My notes have the word morb, morby, morbs in just various parts of speech. She bleeds and Morby almost morbs.
It nearly morbs, but doesn't morb.
Whoops-a-doodle, Morby gonna morb so hard. He cries morbily. The bats are morbing him or something.
Yeah.
Ooh, multiverse crap.
Yeah, what a weird movie that was.
This was a fun Razzie episode, though. Like, this, and I would actually argue The King's Daughter is an interesting Razzie.
King's Daughter, like, I remember having a lot of fun with. I remember I wanted to make a short out of this one, and then I didn't.
Like, it's not good.
No,
but it's
certainly
just...
isn't.
But I remember thinking about... This made us really think about the Razzies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't seem bad enough. It just seemed like, oh, it's for girls and it sat on the shelf for 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's one. My body will be dashed upon these rocks.
Oh yeah.
Because that was a big theme for some reason.
Well,
Almost all of the Razzie movies, except for the last one, had a "My body will be dashed upon these rocks" moment.
Yeah, where they were jumping off or falling off a cliff.
Good Morning also had one.
Yeah.
Pinocchio has the original one.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're trapped!
No, we're not. Positive thinking, Jiminy.
My body will be dashed upon these rocks.
And then Good Morning had one, and The King's Daughter and Morbius both have, like, falling to their death moments. And by The King's Daughter, I looked at you while we were filming it and went, my body will be dashed upon these rocks. And we all had a good time with it.
We all had a really good time. And then along came Blonde.
This is the first thing we've ever tapped out of.
This, and still made an episode. Because we did tap out of Time Traveling Bong and never made an episode of it. But we felt like we had to do it because it was Razzie Month. And
it was also the movie that went on to win Worst.
Yeah. And, like, the description starts with, the Razzies used to be fun.
Yes.
And this is just so awful and tragic and gross that we just were like, granted, if we watched the whole thing, there might have been a my body will be dashed upon these rocks moment, but we'll never know. Because this was horrifically terrible.
It made it not fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This made the Razzies no longer fun. To the point where I think we've evaluated it. In the future, we will no longer be doing every worst picture. We are going to be taking it case by case.
We'll take it case by case.
That being said, nothing was going to save us from Blonde, because on paper, this is one we would have done. I notoriously hate the author of the book Blonde was based on. You've heard of, like, a parasocial relationship. This is a parasocial nemesis.
Yeah.
Joyce Carol Oates does not know I exist, and I dislike her.
Yeah, and run on spite of her.
I dislike her more strongly than anyone I can think of in my personal life.
But, like, if it wasn't a true story, and if there wasn't a real human being exploited here for the horrible, horrible things that happened to her, if this was a true work of fiction, there would have been a lot of things to kind of point and laugh at in this movie, because there are some abysmal choices here in terms of filmmaking, performance, everything.
But this is just atrocious in the way it treats a real person.
Yeah, like, it's the same issue we had with, what was the Hilary Duff film?
Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Of Sharon Tate, yeah. It had that same kind of, like, ugliness.
It had that same just disgusting revisional history to serve an agenda.
Yeah. And then, for something completely different, this actually, I believe, is our most successful episode this season. It is the first show that we've ever covered that has 0 episodes, and it's another solo episode. You did not join me on this journey.
Because I was scared.
It's Learning with Pibby. I don't think you were scared. I think there was another reason you just couldn't. I think you had something to do. because I was just like, I'll do Learning with Pibby. It's 5 minutes.
Yeah, I had more personal things this season than usual.
Yeah. So you were away doing something, and I was like, I'll just do Learning with Pibby. And this is a really good episode. I really like this episode because I think I give this a stay doomed because there's a lot of like discussion about what Learning with Pibby is, the idea of Learning with Pibby, and what was happening with Warner Brothers Discovery at the time. And how it was destroying all of its cartoons. And like what happened to Infinity Train and things like that.
Yes.
And there was just kind of this idea of we could have this show, but it'll never be this show under its current circumstances. So there's some really good stuff. Learning with Pibby is such an interesting phenomenon. And I did it March 22. Or March 22nd, rather. And one of the things I say in it is the last chance for Pibby to show up is April Fool's Day this year. Because it started as an April Fool's Day joke. And now, 1 year later, April Fool's is around the corner, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So. But we got some interesting views. A lot of people, like, talked about it. And we had some nice, like, discussion about it in the comments. And like there was discussion of like the storyboards and how the storyboards were going to have like Dragon Ball Z and He-Man in it. It's it's very good, and I love the Danish Guy Reviews pulls out my final like conclusion. So in the end, no one will be happy, and calls it the catchphrase of the internet. So then moving on from that, we have a Muppet tier list, which was a special episode that we had done for our crowdfund crypt that we did. Again, we were dealing with something that was taking up all of our time.
Yes.
So we put that up. Still fun. I love the tier list episodes. We do them on occasion, and they're always fun. That's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, I love the Muppets.
Then, this is a very interesting time. We do Total Forgiveness.
This is probably my single favorite thing we watched this season.
Probably, yeah. This is so interesting. We still have a Dropout subscription. Because the plan was I was going to use a free subscription that had been gifted to us. And we were going to do a bunch of these. And we watched Total Forgiveness, and then we got into Game Changer and Make Some Noise. Like, let's just keep Dropout forever.
We paid for a year, so.
Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely loved it. Total Forgiveness is a show that we've, like, passed on to friends.
Yes.
Like, you need to see this.
To the point where our friends made our other friends watch the drunk Allie clip.
Yes.
Where Allie gets drunk at work and they start typing nut in the Slack. We watched that recently at a friend's house to explain nut with two T's.
Yes. Nut. Fantastic episode. Oddly, on the YouTube side of things, part 1 does amazing, part 2 does not.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know why people don't carry over on that one. But it was such an interesting thing, and it is still one of the greatest reality shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember this one being sort of difficult to consider a stay tuned because whereas its quality was extremely high, there was the feeling of they could never do it again.
Yeah, it gets over the garden walled.
Yes.
In that
I believe it's only the second show to really be stay doomed by virtue of the over the garden wall rule.
Yeah, of just like, yeah, this is done. It's a complete story. So, what a great... And man, 2 long episodes. We really discussed this one because we loved it. It was so good. Then episode Blink 182 is the Orson Welles show. Something I'm really glad we did because I love Orson Welles.
I really deeply enjoy that I somehow didn't find out about the part you didn't want me to find out about.
So this was a Patreon vote, and in the poll, I actually wrote don't tell Laura the surprise. Because the patrons can talk to us on Discord. Mm-hmm. And I was like, don't do it. Because the Muppets are a guest.
And nobody told me.
No one told her. And on top of that, they announced it at the top of the show. And Laura missed it. Like, she was looking at her notes or the phone or something.
I was writing down something someone else had said. Like, I was trying to, like, frantically take...
And then the Muppets showed up.
I will occasionally miss stuff because I am trying to feverishly take notes in real time. I do not want you to have to pause it often.
Yeah, we try not to pause and, like, rewind unless there's a moment where it's like, wait, what was that? Like, but for the most part, we try to experience it as if it was a TV show, not a recording.
Right.
So, Orson Welles show, very interesting. I always find it interesting to watch magic on TV.
Yeah.
Because there's such a falseness to TV that it's hard to, like, do magic on television.
Yes, because it could be editing tricks or what have you.
But, you know, it's fun to watch, and Orson Welles is a treat.
He's fun in this one.
The description says, Orson Welles, known across the world for his excellence.
I always think of him with the brain.
Yes, because the brain is based off of Orson Welles. Yes! My Orson Welles is not great.
No,
I believe we discussed that.
You're no Maurice LaMarche.
I am no Maurice LaMarche.
Then we did United States Taskmaster.
I'm going to say it again. This is our most popular episode this season because we
Easily.
did very well with this episode. Stay Doomed, U.S. Taskmaster. We love Taskmaster.
Ron Funches and 4 people who don't do as well as Ron Funches in our hearts.
Mm-hmm. God, such a weird train wreck. I know that, like, when I posted this to the Taskmaster subreddit, the reaction was, oh, sweet, we get to dunk on American Taskmaster again. Because people love hating it.
If you like UK Taskmaster, US Taskmaster feels incredibly disappointing. It's just a formatting thing. I'm going to be honest, I think Taskmaster needs swear words.
It absolutely does.
Because I think when there's obvious censorship, it's just not the same.
What's interesting is a lot of the comments on this episode ask us if we're going to do or watch New Zealand Taskmaster.
I've heard nothing but good things.
And I respond to all of them. It's next on the list, and then we never did. Because I can't find an easy way to watch it. Why is it not on YouTube?
I thought it was.
I thought it was as well, but it is not the full episodes. There's, like, clips and stuff.
Huh. I, for some reason, thought the Taskmaster YouTube channel had it, but I guess they don't.
Yeah, it's not there. It's very odd. But yeah, we love Taskmaster. We love talking about Taskmaster. We'll be talking about Taskmaster a little bit later in this episode as we go back to that well.
I love Taskmaster so much.
Love it so much. We've watched all of it already. We're gonna watch it all again.
Yeah, we're currently in the middle of season 6, just rewatching all of it. It's become.
I played the board game last night.
It's definitely such a comfort show for so many people. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I know a lot of people for whom The Office is a comfort show, and then I know a lot of people for whom Taskmaster is a comfort show.
It is so good. I love it. I love it so much. And then I was very upset about the reception to this one, because this one doesn't do very well. And that's Viva Lachlan.
I had a lot of fun doing this one.
Oh, me too. Somehow there are no copyright flags on this one. Because I thought for sure there would be because of all the copywritten music. I think I very carefully edited this one.
I believe you did.
But Viva Lachlan, like, we only have those 2 episodes, and they are something else.
They're so peculiar.
But it's a bummer just because, like, it was so legendary to us, because I remember a member of our Patreon, because we had mentioned that we wanted to do Viva Lachlan, but we didn't have the footage. And they were like, yo, both episodes are up on YouTube right now. And then we dropped everything.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah, it's so odd of a show. And we spent a lot of time like breaking down what this show was, where it was going, what the plot was going to be in the future. Like, you were telling us what happens in the British version. And
Yes, because this is based on an English TV show.
Yeah, so like, here's the solution to the puzzle and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's an odd show in general. One that I think about to this day, because there's the scam that they pull where they have a guy come in and like win big.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's a friend of his. But when he's playing poker, he makes it look like he's trying desperately to make him lose because he doesn't want to lose all this money. Which is not the message you want to send people. Like, if you start winning, the casino will actively try to stop you. It's very odd.
It was such a bungled show of, you have Hugh Jackman and you don't isolate his vocals.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, even then, was a theater star. He was a theater star before he was Wolverine.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was just a strange... The musical aspect of it never seemed like anything more than a gimmick.
Yeah.
And an unnecessary gimmick.
Then we did Evel Knievel, which I love that we did this. What a weird thing to do. And that's the problem with Stay Doomed in general, is like, there's the clickbaity, like, oh my god, they're finally covering Orson Welles or Taskmaster US. And then there's just like these real weird shows no one's thought about again. And that's what I prefer to cover.
Yes.
And they don't do well because no one knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, the ones that do well are the ones that are marketable, for want of a better term.
I mean, our Patreon still talks about Macduff the Talking Dog.
That one was fun.
And that's the stuff I'm looking for. It's like, yo, you won't believe this exists. And we tried to do that with Evel Knievel, and Evel Knievel is nowhere near as good as Macbeth the Talking Dog.
Macduff is still one of my favorite all-time moments of our show.
Oh, yeah.
Did you miss where he was a ghost?
I did.
What?
But I will say it again, because I know I say it during this episode, but one thing we need to do in the future is Super Dave Osborne. Because I love Super Dave, and he's had 3 failed shows. So, add it back to the queue. Then we got Boldly Going Nowhere, which is another very, like, interesting one. Created by...
This is one where it's purely on, for want of a better term, pedigree. Of, like, the creators and the actors. Of, this had all of the ingredients to at least get a proper run. Yeah,
and it just misses. It just doesn't hit where it's supposed to. And on top of that, the one thing I remember about this is the theme song was "We're on the Road to Nowhere," which immediately gets blocked on YouTube.
Yes.
So there was like a search for what the last line of dialogue was. Because in every version we watched, the audio cuts out when that song starts playing. So, like, the very last line is like, "Captain, where do you want to go?" And then it cuts to silence. And we looked and we looked and we looked, and then we finally found it, and he says, "Anywhere but here." And, like, the pointlessness of that really, like, put a button on this show for me. Then we got Mystery Media.
I was so angry.
Yeah, we tried something new. It didn't do well as an episode, but I thought it was an interesting concept. This is the one that we had Laura watch live. We did kind of a watch-along.
Yeah, I realized I don't have notes for it because of that.
But I put Mystery Media. Maybe I'll go back and actually change what this says to, like, reveal what it is. But it was Mr. McMahon's ass. A cartoon where Mr. McMahon's ass from the WWE has arms.
So weird.
very, very odd. It's like 3 minutes. Like, the episode itself is 30 minutes long, and we watched the full cartoon.
So bizarre.
That's an interesting one just because I'm the research department in that one.
Yeah, because I don't know anything, 'cause I don't even know what we're doing. Which was very peculiar to me.
Yeah. We also had to sit differently because we had to sit next to each other instead of across from each other, which was weird. So we could both watch the screen.
Yeah, and that was a weird way. I realized I don't love recording that.
Yeah, that's why we don't do it that way. Then we had Let's Make a Love Scene, one of our more recent shows.
This one was fun.
This was really fun. Sassy Smurf from Ted Lasso hosts as two people go on a date, creating a movie love scene.
And it's so awkward and so problematic.
Yeah, there's so many issues with this show, but very unique. Like, I could understand why you would think this was a good idea, but it ain't. It ain't a good one.
It was a lot of fun to do for Stay Doomed while being a not very good show.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Then we did The Push with, what's his, something Brown, I forget his first name. Darren Brown. This, I don't know how I feel about this episode.
Okay.
Because I was really big on doing it.
You really were.
Because I believed that it was supposed to be a full show where they showed the same experiment 5 times. And in the end, I wasn't sure if that was true. But the secret reason I wanted to do The Push is one of our best episodes is Push Nevada.
Okay.
And thus, when you search Stay Doomed Push, you would get Push Nevada and this.
Okay.
So I thought it would kind of help in the numbers. Plus, if people were looking for this, they would find Push Nevada, things like that. Didn't seem to work as a scheme to get listens and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just remember watching it being like, is this a Stay Doomed? Or is this just a TV special that is not doomed?
I never really got the impression that it was going to ever really make it to series.
Because the big reveal at the end is we've actually run this experiment 4 other times. And I was like, oh, those were going to be other episodes. Ha! And I don't know if that's true. And it's tough just doing something like this in that, like, it could all just be lies because it's a magician.
Yeah.
They're gonna lie to you. So, I don't know. I feel a way about that episode. That's probably the one I regret.
Yeah, like, I don't feel strongly enough to regret. Like, I regret watching Blonde.
Yeah, right.
I didn't regret watching The Push.
Right, like, there's the regret of watching, and then there's the regret of it being a Stay Doomed episode.
That's fair.
I think Blonde is an interesting Stay Doomed episode still.
Yeah.
In that, like, because it kind of shines a light of, like, yo, this is super not okay, and what are the Razzies doing now? Like, what is the point of the Razzies these days?
Yeah, and how many times, we talk about how many times the Razzies had to walk things back because they did things that were not cool. Because that was the year this year was the year they had nominated a very young child for Worst Actress.
Is that
yes.
Yeah.
And it was just unkind.
Yeah. It's just kind of
and they had to walk back, like, Worst Bruce Willis, because it came out that he was suffering from a degenerative neurological disease.
And, like, I understood the bit, because, like, Bruce Willis pumped out 10 films that year. And we kind of had, like, a chat where it's like, is he a cop in all of them? And he was a cop in, like, most of them. And then it turns out, like, he was trying to make as many movies as he could because he soon would not be able to.
He's essentially already nonverbal.
Yeah.
It's very fast to progress.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And it's starting to make the Razzies feel mean-spirited in a way that is no longer fun.
Yeah. So, that's something we will discuss when we get to that bridge, if how many of those movies we'll be doing. Let's talk about a good thing The Jim Henson exhibition. This is a very special episode. It's a special treat, is what I say in the description for this one. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights.
It's time to listen to Laura cry for an hour straight.
Do.
But like good cry. I got very emotional during this exhibit.
We sold so many tickets to this exhibition.
That's great.
Because I know some of our patrons went. Some of our wrestling fans went after we talked to them about it.
Some of our friends just went.
So, yeah, this is... If you want to hear us gush for an hour and 19 minutes about how much we love Jim Henson and how we felt when we met Scooter, listen to this episode. And it also inspired our next episode.
Yeah, I have the, like, I still think about when I walked into the room and it was the wall of all of the episodes playing, and how it was just like, I did not come here to feed.
Yeah, they were playing every episode of The Muppet Show at the same time.
Like, I was doing okay when it was his early works, but when I turned the corner into the Muppet Show room, I utterly collapsed. Like, emotionally. Like, I start crying. I was really glad we went really early in the day.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, had more people been there, I think it would have been really embarrassing.
Well, because what I remember is we went through and we were good journalists who were...
And took so many pictures.
Taking notes, taking pictures, and planning to, like, discuss this. And then when we got to the exit, we're like, you want to just go through again and be fanboys and fangirls? And that's what we did.
Yeah, we literally walked through it twice.
We went through twice, just like, oh my god!
And the woman, like, at the front of the exhibit just kind of laughed.
Yeah.
Which gave me the impression we were not the first to do it.
Yeah.
And that mural, if I want to, like, choke myself up, I just think about how somebody wrote at the top of that mural, the Muppets were alive, or Kermit the Frog was alive, and so was Jim Henson.
Yeah.
And you just hear me like...
So good. It was so good. God, I'm so glad we went.
Jim Henson is the only pop figure of a real human being I own.
Yeah.
Because I'm very attached to Jim Henson,
Love Jim Henson.
Emotionally.
And I greatly enjoyed his The Cube, the next episode that
I
we
didn't
do.
greatly enjoy it, but...
I thought it was very interesting. It's absurdist, and...
I know that I'm a, like... I've never been that into absurdism.
I mean, I'm always a big fan of bottle episodes. Like, I love the movie Phone Booth, where he spends the whole time in a phone booth. So, the things that they accomplish inside the singular cube is very entertaining and interesting.
I don't regret watching it, but it was a very difficult episode for me to take notes on.
There's no way I could watch another episode of it.
No.
But yeah, that was fascinating. And the thumbnail is a picture I took from the exhibit, so there.
Yay.
Then we have a special edition. We have a special edition of episode 36, Turn On, because our friend Bailey told me that he went to go see Turn On at the Paley Center. And then the next day it was on YouTube. And I was like, what do you mean it's on YouTube?
Yeah, because it had been impossible to find for a very long time.
So we rushed back and I made a special edition of this episode with clips. Because there was a lot of people who were very upset that there were no clips during the first episode of Turn On because we couldn't get clips.
Yeah.
So...
And this kind of goes back into, it was immediately pulled again.
Yeah, it was immediately pulled afterwards. It disappeared amazingly, like, almost immediately after I put this episode out.
So now I believe, like, this might be the most...
Well, someone else, or probably the same person, put it up again. And
it's just going to be the eternal whack-a-mole.
I think we can hint at something in the future. We made ourselves back to the Paley Center recently.
We did.
And the girl who runs the archive was like, have you ever been here before? And we said, yes. And she said, what did you see? And we said, we saw Turn On. And she went, that's so funny. Someone from the Midwest was so excited to see that recently. And we kind of looked at each other like, did they rip it? Because that's interesting that you have that memory of someone coming in to watch Turn On, and then it ended up on YouTube.
Yeah, we were like, and I will say, it wasn't me.
And, like, you can argue, like, it did air, so maybe someone taped it, but the second episode didn't, and they were both up on YouTube.
And no one taped it.
And no one taped it also.
It was the 60s. VHS and VCRs are not in existence yet.
Yeah. So, it's very interesting. This episode did not do nearly as well as our first attempt at Turn On. We still get comments on the original episode 36. Way more than we get comments on this one.
Are they mad about the fact that it's not the full episode still?
Yeah. Apparently it's on the web archive now.
Okay.
So you can watch it there. A couple people just discussing the fact that this exists now on our comments. Do you remember how this episode ends?
This, the Turn On Redux? Or the original Turn On?
They both end the same way.
How do they end?
You talk about how you found the show really disturbing and that you didn't like it because it was upsetting and that you wanted to see a red panda. So it ends with a picture of a red panda.
Yay. I love that. I love that I specifically demand a red panda. That feels very on brand. And it also tells you that this was older because I didn't go to my usual well of raccoon.
Yeah.
Guys, I love raccoons.
Well, when we originally recorded it, I believe we go to the zoo afterwards and see a red panda.
We
so I think it was
absolutely
fresh on your
did.
mind, yeah. Next, we finally fulfill a promise that we made to our patrons, and we do Evil Monkeys from the BBC. Something that we were going to do and then vanished, and then we finally found it again, and we're able to do it. What a weird, terrible reality show this was. I just remember it not being what we thought it was. I thought it was a prank show.
Yeah, this one was strange, and it's also very difficult to do a show centered around celebrities that you have no idea who they are.
I have no idea who they are. They were British Jersey Shore was basically the way it was explained.
Yes.
It's another game show, and like we try to talk about game theory, but it's so like clearly the point of this is to embarrass these three people.
Yes.
Not to have a cohesive game.
It was very peculiar in that way.
Anything else to say about Evil Monkeys? I don't have much to add.
No, it was fun for us to do.
Because I really enjoy our next episode.
Yes, our next episode was The Selection.
Yes.
This one was one of my favorite ones we did because it was fun to revisit a world I at one point very much enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Because I really enjoyed these books. And it was really fun to kind of come back to books I had really liked for a while and then see how, oh yeah, that's right. The protagonist is really annoying.
Yeah. America.
Yeah, America. And they lean so much harder on how incredibly on the nose her name is.
Yeah.
In like the opening crawl for The Selection.
That woman's name was America.
And I was like, oh wow, I didn't fully grasp how comically on the nose this was. Mm-hmm. Until now. And I'm like, ooh, how did I not grasp that? That's not subtle.
I feel like this was my most stay tuned show we covered.
You were genuinely down.
I was like, I would watch this every week. I am down for whatever this is. I love reality show crap.
Yes, I remember reading this and choosing it because when I was starting to watch reality shows for really the first time with you. Mm-hmm. And being like, oh, it's a dystopian fiction, but it's also a reality show. This seems fun. Mm-hmm. And it was.
And then, Way, way back in the 1980s, secret government employees dug up famous guys and ladies and made amusing genetic copies. It's Clone High Reboot. We did this not because it is a one-season wonder, but because
it was undoomed.
It was undoomed. This was going to be the Undoomed Project, because we wanted to cover the shows that we said were doomed and then came back. And we started with Clone High, which was a very interesting episode because we kind of walked away from Clone High thinking, it's different now, but it had to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of lost some of its magic, but also because we've gotten older. But it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then YouTube told me, no, this is awful and everything is ruined. If you look online for Clone High, video essays, everyone hated it.
I definitely didn't hate it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Because what we kind of realized is this is what a teen show is now.
Yeah, it's got more of that Riverdale-y feel.
Yeah.
I think it's very emblematic of reboots or long delayed sequels of the original audience not understanding it might not be for them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But still fun. It ends with a murder game show, so I was happy.
Yeah, it really was gunning for you specifically a lot. And then they made a musical theater episode to throw me a bone.
Yes, absolutely.
Laura, go get it.
Then the plan was we were going to do The Quest.
Yes, so Clone High, that's in July, 3 months ago.
It is the final episode of Stay Doomed.
And was our last true Stay Doomed episode.
We actually did record part 1 of The Quest, and I believe the file is corrupted. I'm trying to fix it.
I think we would have to rewatch.
We would have to rewatch it in order to do The Quest. But we were informed that covering struck work was in violation of the actors and writers strike, and in doing so would disqualify us from joining the union. So we politely chose not to risk our careers, and we came out with Tune Out.
Yes, because I think that first episode is so interesting because you can tell we're kind of scrambling.
Yeah.
In a way that you generally don't see us scramble.
Mm-hmm. It's by far one of our shortest episodes. It's only 23 minutes, and it's kind of us just, explaining what's happening.
Yeah, it's us, the night we find out we can't do it anymore, 2 nights after the guidance comes out, it came across our desks, and we went, oh my god, we can't run.
Yeah. So we had to come up with some new things to talk about. And these are kind of recent, so I don't know if we'll have a lot to say about these things. But the first thing we did was the Taskmaster casting, which is our most popular episode of Tune Out.
This one was fun.
Yeah. It was kind of just like a fun game where we picked a genre or a group of people and would cast what the Taskmaster, assistant, and contestants would be.
I'd do it again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I knew towards the end you get upset with me.
Why did I get upset with you?
Because I said the last one we do is food mascots. And
yeah.
You're like, this is dumb. I don't know who these people are.
That sounds right.
Yeah. But this was a tough time for us.
I think it becomes clear we're struggling.
Because what ends up happening is it stops being the show.
Yes.
And the numbers on these episodes also kind of show that what we're creating is not Stay Doomed, and it's not a show.
No. This is the first time I've ever felt like we were just making content.
Yes.
And I don't like it. I will be level of, there are episodes individually that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the one, are we still going in order, or?
We can just kind of pick around here, because I don't want to break down every Tune Out.
The books episode I actually genuinely enjoyed doing. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed doing when we discussed the fall lineup and the strike.
But, like, this is content...
The 2 listicles.
Yeah.
Like, they were fun episodes to do, but I really did feel like I was making content.
Yeah, the list episodes, I really like those episodes, but they're basically react videos. It stops being about, hey, we're 2 people doing a deep dive on this very interesting topic that not a lot of people know about, to... You are here because you like Noah and Laura. Mm-hmm. And this is their reaction to X. And that's not what we want it to be.
No, I've never wanted this to be about me or my personality.
Yeah, and also that's not going to help us grow.
No.
Like, if your first episode of our podcast is a tune out, it's not going to really grab you.
No.
Because, like, part of what made tune out work is that you know us. I mean, like, The Worst Con, which is another Noah solo. Like, you're really not going to care about that unless you know who I am and know that I do stand-up. Or as I put here on YouTube, Strand-up on our Strand-up episode because I'm an idiot and don't know how to spell. Yeah, this was a weird time. I really enjoyed doing them. But they're very self-indulgent. And
I don't even really enjoy doing them.
Really? You didn't, like... I felt like some of these you enjoyed. Like books.
I enjoyed books, yes. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever felt like I was just making content. And I don't enjoy that sensation.
Yeah.
I have not enjoyed the feeling that I'm just making content.
And, like, I know fans of ours really liked it because they're fans of ours. So, like, I'm glad that people enjoyed it, but I'm very excited to get back to doing Stay Doomed.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping that the Screen Actors Guild gets their way soon. Because I miss doing the show as the show.
And, like, what bums me out about this is we were very excited for the post-mortem to be episode 200.
Yeah.
We were on our way to 200. And we were going to do the Cape.
Yes.
We were really looking forward to doing the Cape. But...
We never got a 5-year anniversary, and that really does make me sad.
Yeah, like, on top...
Like, this post-mortem is... not the 5-year anniversary victory lap I wanted it to be.
Yeah, on top of that, like, during Tuned Out, we, on Podbean, hit 100,000 downloads. And it never felt right to bring that up on a Tuned Out. This, like, accomplishment.
Yeah, like, it's so sad.
Because I remember, like, when we were doing the selection, I was like, oh my god, we're going to hit it soon. And then we hadn't hit it by Clone High. And then I believe we hit it around Taskmaster. And, like, now we're at 101,000. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, we missed the moment.
Yeah, and, like, it's a moment. Like, I don't know... What do we do for our 5th... Because we had some ideas. There were things we were hoping to do for our 5th anniversary, but nothing felt appropriate. Because it was all really acknowledging struck work or...
We were considering doing for episode 200 or 201, because 200 was going to be the Cape. We were considering doing a tier list of every show we watched. And, like, all this other stuff that was going to be, like, fun and interesting. And the strike really put a pause on all of that. And, like, the show became very different. And, like, of course we stand with the writers, and of course we stand with the actors, and we want to do what's right. But unlike them, we can't stop doing this weekly show, because then the show's over.
Yes.
So it put us in a very, like, weird situation. So we ended up doing Tuned Out, and, like, there's no growth during this time. There's no new subscribers during this time. Like, and this is not to say that I don't appreciate each and every one of you that stuck with us through it. And I know that lots of you gave us good feedback on these episodes, but the Stay Doomed brand had disappeared for a bit, and it was a bummer.
I also had like some illness in my family during this, and which contributed to some mental health challenges for me. So like I have had a rough time with the tuned out era. Like I have felt tuned out.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of vouch. It's sometimes a struggle to get me to record.
Yes. There was definitely a few times where it was just like,
we need to record or we won't have an episode.
Yeah.
And it's not like that as often with the Stay Doomed episodes. Because there's usually like a little bit more enthusiasm because I'm like, oh, I want to talk about X, Y, and Z. Or even if the show's terrible, like a Heathers or a Blonde. Like, I'm like, I gotta process this.
Yeah, like, it was, like...
I need to yell about this on the internet.
Watching a Stay Doomed is, like, a very interesting experience in itself. Because, like, we would watch some of it, and then, like, we knew what we were talking about, like, over dinner or on a walk.
Yes.
Like, because it was like, all right, so let's process what we just saw. Why is that miserable? And... the fact that was gone is like a very missing element for just what we produce in general. So
the listicle episodes were easy to do, but they're the most like we're making content.
Yeah.
That I felt. I'm like, oh good, I'm Watch Mojo now.
Yeah, and not even we're Watch Mojo. We're watching a Watch Mojo.
Yeah, we're reacting,
discussing it. It's interesting. I really enjoyed when we did the TV mistakes because it was more plugged into us.
Yeah,
and our content, and like the end of it being
Freaks and Geeks, like, which is how we ended season 4.
Yeah, like it all fits so well together. And now this, like when we did the movies, I was like, they're not really hitting the ones we covered.
No.
So the only thing that we covered was movie 34 or 48 or 40.
Movie 43.
43.
And it's also very difficult because these articles are written with like children dying.
Yeah.
Will Smith turned down a role.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird to pull these things together into a list that doesn't feel tonally dissonant.
Yeah. It's been a weird time.
Yeah, we're doing our best. I have found this time really challenging. I really miss doing the show. We made it back to the Paley Center, and we have a couple things we haven't really been able to produce that we were really excited about. We've actually started to think about like how we can move forward because it's the end of October.
Yes.
Which means we are heading into our planned hiatus.
Yes.
We usually take a hiatus in the fall. Because life finds a way.
to be annoying and busy. So we will be taking off the month of November.
Yes.
Content will still roll out on this channel. It will not be your standard Stay Doomed, of course. It will not be your standard Tune Out as well. So things will be rolling out on the channel. It'll be a little bit different. We're going to take this hiatus to kind of restructure the Patreon. The plan currently for the Patreon, I want to double check and like make some changes based off of the questionnaire.
Yes.
That I put out. But right now, it's kind of a bit like our Patreon. It's like at the $1 level, you like my gaming channel. At the $5 level, you like Stay Doomed. And then there's a $7 level that's there literally as a joke. And then there's like a $20 deluxe level. And with everything that's been going on, there hasn't been... we haven't really been pulling through with what we've promised in our Patreon.
No.
So what we're hoping is to do a relaunch when we come back in December.
Yes.
The new plan is we are still going to have the $1 gaming level. There will be a $5 Stay Doomed level. And then there will be a more expensive +2 wrestling, +2 essays level.
Okay.
+2 wrestling is what I do with Scott Holiday. And that's going pretty well, I will say. I don't make it every week, but I try to make it every week. And it's a wrestling YouTube channel I do as my alter ego. And it gets some motion. So I'm a big fan of doing that. And I've wanted to do video essays for a while. And I think the thing that always stops me from doing it is I always want there to be a schedule. And I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to make a channel, and when I want to make an essay, I want to put an essay up. Because I had a plan to launch it in December. And I'm not going to. I'm going to make one during the hiatus and just put it up.
Yeah,
So.
I think the calendar is sometimes... we get a little bit crushed under the calendar.
Well, I also...
with so many different ways of doing content.
I also think of, like, my favorite video essayists. Like, your Eye Patch Wolf, Nightmind, Drew Gooden. And they just put it up when it's done. And that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm just going to put it up when it's done.
I mean, I love Jenny Nicholson, and Jenny Nicholson just puts out random stuff whenever.
Yeah, she hasn't put anything out in a year.
And
I still love her.
I've watched that 4-hour Evermore video twice.
Yeah.
It's something I will put on while I'm doing other things. So I think I've watched the video once across 2 4-hour viewings.
That being said, when we come back in December, we will come back as Stay Doomed. The strike may still be continuing, but in compliance with the actor strike, we can do game shows and we can do British television. So that will be our focus.
And we do have at least one travel-y one that we're hoping to do.
I mean, that will probably be what we do first.
Yeah.
So do you want to just reveal it? And have a month of hype for what is to come?
For a visit to a hotel we do not plan to stay at?
That was not the thing I was discussing.
Oh.
I was talking about what we saw at the Paley Center.
Oh! I was saying the travel-y ones, meaning more like the Jim Henson exhibit where we went somewhere and talked about it.
Well, we went somewhere. We went to the Paley Center.
So yes, we are going to do the Jackie Gleason show.
Yes. No, we're going to do You're in the Picture.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Not the Jackie Gleason show. You're
I'm
in the
tired.
Picture, the Jackie Gleason hosted show, which is a game show.
And then the second episode, which is one of the most fascinating half-hours of television I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, so that will be what we come back with in December.
Yes.
If you want to watch that, you can head over to the Paley Center, because that's the only place you can watch it. This has been on the to-do list for years.
We're also trying to plan a trip to the Cartoon Network Hotel in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is what I thought we were talking about.
That's okay. So that is the plan for the future. Again, content will continue to roll out on this channel throughout the month of November, but we're going to take a break. We're going to try to get everything more in order and make this the best experience for you, the grave diggers. So, what I'd like you to do is head on over to our description of this very video, if you're on YouTube, or this very podcast, wherever podcasts are sold that you're listening to this. And there will be a questionnaire about what you'd like the future of Stay Doomed to look like post-strike.
Yes.
And we will provide you with the best content that we can.
We're admittedly hoping that in the month of November and the 2 planned December episodes already, we're really hoping that buys us enough time that we'll be able to just get back to it with the small pile of episodes we had already planned.
Yeah.
Our first real episode back is very likely to be The Quest.
Yes.
Because that is a debt we owe.
Yes, there are actors in it, so we can't just do that, even though it's a reality show.
It is not compliant. That is struck work.
And we will probably have to re-record episode 1.
I would like to anyway, because I think if we tried to watch the second half of
I have
The
no
Quest,
idea what's going on.
I'd be like, oh, the brother. One of them's smart and one of them's also there.
Yay.
There are 3 siblings, I remember that.
So, thank you so much for listening. Anything else you want to add about Season 5 of Stay Doomed?
This was an odd season, and I've had a really hard time for a number of reasons this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest single factor is this is the season everything has come back in, like, the world.
Yeah.
And I think we got very comfortable doing Stay Doomed in quarantine, or at least seasonal quarantine.
Yeah.
Because even when, like, things were coming back in 2022, once Omicron surged, we were back in the house again for 3 months, roughly. And so it has been increasingly bizarre to figure out the balance.
Yeah. It's also very interesting, I just want to point this out, that this will be episode 195 of Stay Doomed, which means that we did 29 episodes of Stay Doomed.
In roughly a year.
The last postmortem came out October 26th. So
in
exactly a year. We put out so many more videos than that, though, because there's so many Blood Drive.
Yeah,
There's
Blood
the
Drive
shorts,
is 4 of them.
and then there's all the tune-out episodes. So it's interesting to think about. Thank you so much for listening. Where can people find us?
You can still email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com or on Facebook and Twitter at Stay Doomed.
And if you want to talk to me about your thoughts on Stay Doomed and this past season and what the future will look like in the future, then please do the questionnaire I talked about.
If your current idea of optimism is, my body will be dashed upon these rocks, I'm at Priorities. Until next time, stay doomed.